Hey everybody, I am just doing a quick video here about some spare ribs. I was at Walmart today. I was going to get some baby back ribs to cook on my smoker for the family, and with the current situation, all the quarantine stuff, I think when people go to the store, they just stock up on what they need for a few weeks, and then they, unfortunately, the meat department was lacking. So I grabbed some of these spare ribs. Honestly, I like these better than baby back or loin back ribs. They're cheaper. This whole thing was $8.68, $1.74 a pound. This was all that was left in the rib rack at Walmart today. So I went for some baby backs, but I came home with this big honking thing of spare ribs. Now, so if you look in there, now these can be intimidating, especially if you don't know how to break them down, so that is what I'm gonna do. These spare ribs, they come from the lower portion of the pig down where the ribs come down toward the belly. And so they include the ribs, which would be what we're gonna do is make a St. Louis cut. But it also includes this whole extra portion of ribs, which you can cook and eat too. So you have a lot more to eat here, and you can get you a perfect rack of spare ribs, St. Louis style, along with some extra meat that's, trust me, it's really good if you smoke it the same way. And so I'm gonna show you exactly how to break down this large portion of spare ribs. Okay, we've got our spare ribs out of the package. They're huge. They look a little intimidating. So I'm gonna show you exactly how to break these down, and you'll have a nice rectangular cut of St. Louis style ribs that we can then throw on the smoker. And maybe I'll even take you guys through a whole process of how I smoke them. So first thing is you wanna use a plastic cutting board. You'll also see I'm not wearing any gloves because personal protective items are a little short supply right now. So I'm not gonna waste any gloves. I'm just gonna use my hands, but I washed my hands before, and I'm gonna wash my hands really good after. Also, we have a plastic cutting board. Definitely recommended when you're using meats, chicken, pork, anything like that. And also, if you notice underneath the board, I have put, to keep this board from slipping around on these granite countertops, I have put a damp towel that I just took out, got it wet, wrung it out, you place it under the board, and this isn't gonna go anywhere. So safety first. So the first thing I'm gonna start with is a real sharp knife. And you want a nice heavy knife. You want a nice heavy, in this case, I've got a big chef knife. But the most important thing is you want a sharp knife, and you want a pretty heavy knife to help you get through the cartilage that's on the end of these bones here. And we'll see how much I have to struggle to get through this. So the first trick that I always do is you see these are the rib bones, and you look and you find the longest rib bone. You can feel long. So we're right about here. Right about here is where we're at the end of the ribs. We got about our longest bone. So I am gonna make a cut right here. And we're just gonna come straight down. Like I said, I'm using the weight of this big, heavy knife. And I'm not getting much resistance at all from this cartilage. So here, we'll finish the cuts out. Always cut away from you, never toward you. Here we go. Now this is our extra. This is from the belly of the pig, and these are what you would consider your rib tips if you wanted to cut these down into a thin strip. So we're gonna set this aside, and we're gonna focus on our nice rack of St. Louis ribs. So here we have nice square, and what I'll even do, especially if I'm cooking in a competition or something, I will, let me spin this around here so we're not laying them on the counter. I will even usually square up. I like to square up the end of my ribs. We'll set that aside. We'll cook that as well. And there we go. That is a perfect cut of St. Louis trim spare ribs. So our next step that you want to do, and if you're a seasoned rib griller or smoker, you already know about this, but for those of you that don't, this has a membrane on the back of these ribs that will not break down with cooking. So you need to physically remove this membrane. Some racks it's super easy, some racks it's super tough. But it is essential to remove this membrane, or else it's just going to shrink down, pull these ribs together, and it's going to make eating them not so much fun. So we have to reach up under here. There we go. This one's coming off. You grab hold of it, and you just pull that right off. There we go. That is step one. And now we also have, for your spare ribs, you almost always have a flap of meat right here that I just want to go ahead and remove. That's just going in the scrap pile. So from here on out, we're gonna trim these up. Any of this stuff, any of this extra bits we can remove. This will all cook down, but if you just really want to make yourself a nice, pretty rack of ribs, just kind of trimming up some of this extra fat and whatnot that's on the bottom side is not a bad idea. All right, so there we go. We've got our membrane removed. Now we can to get these ready for the smoker. It's pretty simple. First thing I did, I washed my hands. So now I've got some clean hands. I'm gonna try to, for the most part, use one hand for one thing, one hand for the other here. We'll see how it goes. But first thing you wanna do is get some yellow mustard, put on the back side. You don't need a whole lot of it. All this is a binder. It is gonna bind your spice rub to the meat and help to make a nice little crust. So you just kind of smear that around. As this cooks, the mustard loses all its flavor. There's no flavor. I've got my super secret blend of spices and herbs here. So we want to get a nice layer of flavor on the top and the bottom of these ribs. So we're just going to start sprinkling that on. And I go back. I sprinkle a little more, make sure I get everywhere.
There's way too much smoke outside.
Here we go. So you don't need to worry about rubbing it in. You don't need to do any of that stuff. Just sprinkle it on. That mustard helps stick it to the meat. You're good to go. So now we're going to turn it over. And we're going to sprinkle the top side. First thing we're doing, a little bit of mustard, kind of smear that around. Come on with your spice rub, and still sprinkle it on. Make sure we got a good coating. That's where all your extra flavor comes from. Okay, so here we are at the smoker. I'm using a pellet smoker. It's a Smoke Pro DLX. Awesome thing. I love pellet smokers. Can't recommend them enough. So we've got our spare ribs. They're just going to go on. I've got the temperature set at 275. These are your extra bits. This is the bonus meat. We got rib tips, little belly meat. These are the ends of the spare ribs. It's on there perfect. And we're going to set it and forget it for 2 hours. Okay, it's been 2 hours. We're gonna open this up and check things out. There we go. We got our rack of spare ribs. It's got good color. If I was doing a competition, I wouldn't like the dark stuff, but you can fix that with a little bit of rub sauce. But we're doing this for the home, so we're doing this for dinner. So we have our spare ribs. We're gonna take these off. Beautiful color. We're gonna take off the other stuff. Okay. Now we're going to take these inside and we're going to show you what to do next. Okay, we're back inside. I've got my chief cook, aka my daughter, Lauren. She is going to help me because I don't want to take these gloves off because the ribs are really hot. So I'm going to be transferring them over to this aluminum foil. So our next step is we're going to wrap these in aluminum foil and add a little bit of extra flavor. So Lauren, if you would, she's going to take some brown sugar, a nice big handful. She's going to sprinkle it out in kind of just a long line on that tray. That looks really good. Good job. And then she's going to take a little honey. Nice little drizzle all along there. Good job, Laura. No, in the competition world, they say honey for the money. So I've got the ribs. We're going to take them and lay them top side down. Look at the color on those already. Those look really good. All right. So now let's do them for the extra bits. Same thing. Now at this stage, we're gonna put the brown sugar over here, Laura. Oh. Yeah, it's okay. So at this stage, this is just adding extra flavor. In this case, obviously it's sweetness. You can put whatever you want in this foil packet. So basically what we did, we cooked our ribs for 2 hours in the open smoke. And now we're gonna cook them for an hour wrapped up really tightly. So in essence, we're switching from smoking our ribs to braising our ribs. What that's going to do is that's going to really help break down some collagen, and it's also going to help them be extra tender whenever we get them back off the smoker. So Lauren's got the brown sugar and the honey. Yeah, you could do apple juice. You could any kind of flavor you wanted. And I'm just going to throw these extra bits right in there. Doesn't have to be pretty. Now I can take my gloves off, and we're going to wrap up. So when you do your wrap, I like to do it really tight. You got to be careful with the ends of the bones. They don't poke through the foil. The whole point is keeping all the juice, all that flavor, everything inside this foil pouch. There's ribs. There's the extra bits. That's the good stuff. There we go. Now, all we're gonna do is we're gonna take this out, put it back on the smoker for an hour, and then we'll check it out, and it should be about done. And one other quick thing I didn't explain is we only did the brown sugar and honey on one side, and on the ribs it was the top side, and the top side is laying on the bottom right now. So when we take these and put them back on the smoker, we're gonna flip this over and lay them right here. So now all that brown sugar and honey's on the top, and as that cooks and melts, it's gonna baste and really get in there and braise everything with that meat. Same thing over here. All right, we will see you in an hour. Got our ribs off of the smoker. Moment of truth, we're gonna unwrap them. So this has been about a 3-hour cook time. I'm gonna make a little mess here. Oh yeah. And these even, those ribs, bones are popping out. Those are definitely done. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take a little bit of our sauce. We wanna brush all along the bottom of these ribs. Give them a nice coat of that shiny sauce. All right. Now I'm gonna get my gloves on because these are hot. I'm gonna get my hand underneath them. We're gonna take them over here. And before we do, I'm gonna give them one little last coat of rub on the bottom. Let's go. We're gonna turn these over. Beautiful. Then we're gonna brush on our sauce all over the top here. See how shiny that is? We're gonna get this all brushed on, put one last little dusting of rub on there, and then we're gonna take these back out to the smoker just for 20 minutes or so. We're just gonna let that sauce set up. One more little dust of sauce. Rub, I should say. All right, those look beautiful. So these, and as you can see, I put this on a wire rack. That's gonna help the remaining smoke and all the heat, everything get around them so they don't kind of boil underneath and not too much moisture gets to them. So we're gonna put these back on the cooker just long enough to let the sauce set up. We got our ribs off the smoker. The sauce is set up a little bit. They still look nice and shiny. And as a finishing sauce, one thing I love to use is 17th Street barbecue sauce, homegrown right here, our hometown of Murfreesboro, Illinois. This stuff is awesome. And while these ribs are piping hot, I just like to take a little drizzle of the good stuff, and we're just gonna finish that on these ribs and just kind of let that stand while these ribs cool off. We're gonna give these ribs about 20 minutes to rest, and then we're gonna cut into them and try them out. We got our ribs, they rested, and we're gonna go ahead and cut into them. And as you can see, my chief cook here, Lauren, is holding Herbie because if we have food in the kitchen and he's not getting any, he throws a fit. So, bless your heart, Herbs. So here we go, let's cut into these ribs. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah. These are cutting really good. Oh yeah. I know, all the dogs want some. All right, Laura, this is the moment of truth. Okay, why don't you put Herbie down? And I apologize if you hear incessant shrieking by a Chihuahua while we're trying these, but here you go. Ooh, look at that. That is a nice rib. I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna pick up one. We're gonna try it at the same time, okay?
Okay.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Mmm. Oh my God! That's a good bite. That's a good rib.
It is good.
That's a good rib. Ah. Mmm. I'm having a come to Jesus moment right now. So, all right. There you go. The whole point of this was if you go to Walmart and you're looking in the meat section and things are sparse and you see those big honking packs of spare ribs, it's not that hard to work with. All you need is a good sharp knife. Cut them up. You got you some regular St. Louis style ribs. Put your heat at about 270 and you can cook them in 3 hours. There you go. But hey, I do want to say we finished this out with some 17th Street barbecue sauce. We can't say enough about supporting our local businesses right now. These guys had to shut down. A lot of businesses had to shut down. Let's do our part. And those of us who are fortunate enough to still be working, let's just help them out. Help them out any way we can. Go to Kroger, go to Walmart, buy you some of this sauce. Same for all the other small businesses. These are some awesome ribs. So, what do you think, Laura?
I'm good.
All right. See y'all later.
I feel like I took a bite.